Okay. And that's interesting. Because the bus goes, where South Station. Yeah. So they take the city bus and they just walk down the hill. But the dollar store is there, right? So they can pick up food, they can call to things. Well, behind Dunkerberg is a cemetery. Yeah. That cemetery has everywhere. I go walk there. And so I bring my rubber gloves, trash. Because now they're getting their express toothpaste. Yeah. And they're leaving out.
They're taking care of business.
Yeah. That's me. So, but they're down in the cemetery. Washing up, because it's not far to walk there. Right. But some of that trash cans on Thursday morning. I've got neighbors that don't do tax-paying neighbors.
Absolutely. Then eat it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a sufficient.
Thank you. You're fine.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Angela? They had replied to the.
The signs? The sign?
Well, kind of now. It is now. Now that
I didn't know if like the music started, we all jumped up.
Never. A little chilly. When does the heat go on?
When you pay the oil bill.
I've been running up. I don't know. They don't usually turn it up too much here.
I think the AC is still on.
Well, that should be shut.
I thought I dressed warmer tonight. When I was cold.
Knows what I have on. Me, of course, he's always warm.
They want oil.
Great. Call the order. Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So consideration and conformation of new committee members if needed. Should we do a roll call on who's here?
Bob Reed from Lewiston.
Gordon Bell, Auburn.
Noel Hinckley, Sabatis.
Angela Mitchell Sabatis.
James Anthony Poland.
Lee Clement, Lewiston.
Harry Pease, Lawson.
Linda Scott, Lewiston.
Paula Maselli, Lewiston.
We want a motion to accept the meeting minutes from September 28th as presented.
Make a motion to accept.
All in favor? Yeah.
I will abstain as I was not here.
Questions before we went in? I had some questions for the counselors, but I think I'll have to wait until they come into the meeting. I have some questions around the line items that we and we wanted, they cut all the funding out of some items. We'll move on to those.
Yeah, they do plan to come in, they're still in their meeting.
So they'll be here this evening.
Okay, so review budget 2020 Western Main Transportation. Welcome.
Good evening.
Yeah, you guys right here.
Good evening. I'm Craig Zerhurst, Community Relations Director for Western Main Transportation Services. Just to get a quick idea, how many people here are aware of Western Main Transportation? Thank you. That's great. It's amazing how many times we ask that question and fewer people than we anticipate knowing. We are requesting $42,500 this year in support of the transportation we provide in and around all of Androscoggin County. If you're familiar with us, you know the basic services that we are providing. The new challenges this year specifically surround Community Concepts terminating its transportation service as of last Friday. We're currently doing our best to find ways to pick up the need that was left by their departure. Some of what they were doing was for Maine DHHS through the broker. We're not dealing with that. It's all of the other people, whether they were going to cancer care, dialysis, just people going shopping that they were serving. We're able to, so far, absorb most of that on our existing buses. But it's being an interesting experience because there was only about 30 days notice provided in the area. It had been asked whether we were going to be working on the joint Maine Department of Labor and Maine DOT Workforce Transportation Program. When we spoke with the commissioners, there hadn't been any activity, but there has been since. And we are currently working with the cities of Lewiston and Auburn, as well as the Lewiston-Auburn Metro Chamber of Commerce. We're working to get employees in the Lewiston-Auburn area with a focus on serving lower-income neighborhoods to an employer's location. Currently, it's a single employer, but we believe that may expand. The focus is early in the morning before CityLink is operating. You all don't fund CityLink. That's done through Lewiston and Auburn. And in the evening as a return commute for these folks. Along with that, we're anticipating another pilot workforce program for Lewiston, Auburn, Sabattis, Lisbon, and the surrounding areas. We're waiting for guidance from Maine DOT on how to move ahead with that. So there's a lot going on. It's exciting. It's a little daunting right now because there has been and continues to be a lack of new buses available for purchase. In fact, the Maine Department of Transportation recently had a contract for several dozen cutaway buses canceled by the manufacturer, citing force majeure. They couldn't get the workforce to put them together, they couldn't get the steel, and they couldn't get the microprocessors. There was a report in a trade publication yesterday that major trade groups involved in public transit have gone in front of Congress asking for them to waive Made in America requirements and do some other things that will hopefully free up production capacity. Not just for buses, but this will also help municipalities with ambulances and other vehicles that are on the same types of chassis. And then, of course, we always have the driver shortage. Nobody can get enough drivers. We are training people who are interested, and knock on wood, we're having some success with our recruitment. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Certainly.
How many rides per year do you provide?
How many what?
How many rides per year do you?
That is a great question. Normally, I would be able to tell you that right off the top of my head. Right now, I don't know what that number is, but what I can tell you is that throughout all of our service areas, we're back to between 65 and 70% of pre-COVID levels. So we're talking tens of thousands of rides per year. I would be glad to get that information for you if you'd like it.
Curious more than anything else.
Yep.
And can you just share with us some of the other funding that goes to Western Maine Transportation?
Yes, certainly.
Sources?
So, I'm sorry.
Just the other sources of funding.
Sure. For Androscoggin County, and we try to keep things separated so that if there are different programs being worked on, that we're able to focus funds where they're intended. The money we get from the county goes to fund the demand response services, the Androscoggin portion of the Green Line, the new Blue Line service that goes down to Bath. So the money we get from the county is matched by federal dollars through Maine DOT. So we're what's referred to as an indirect recipient. So for every dollar, 35% of that dollar, 35 cents, comes from a local investment, 45 cents comes back in as a result of that. So the great majority of the funding that we get to operate services in Androscoggin County and everywhere else is from municipal or county grants or contributions. We have some philanthropic grants, but not many. United Way would be a good example, although not here in Androscoggin County. Robert Wood Johnson, I'm sorry, take that back, John T. Gorman and Maine Community Foundation. And all of those funds are also able to be matched by federal funds. But the amount of money that we get back or are given and then are matched by, the majority of that is coming from the county. The state also kicks some money in. That's a little bit more difficult to explain because their focus has been and continues to be on covering capital purchase costs. Where normally we would have to put in 20% of that, the state has been covering all of those costs, which has been fabulous, except we can't get the buses that they would normally be spending that on. And then they will also occasionally kick in other programmatic funds based on existing federal grants, but we never know what that's going to be. That was a very long answer to a very short question.
It worked. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Annual budget.
For the entire organization, it's just shy of $5 million.
I'm a little concerned that you're driving things and your budget is level funded. How are you going to pay for gas?
Well, fuel actually is less of a problem right now than parts and salaries. We are coming off of a period where there are still some pandemic funds left, and they are being applied for all of the transportation providers in the state. We also know that the county and municipalities where we're making requests, everybody is facing a fiscal cliff. We do not want to over ask if we have resources to make up that difference, which right now we do.
We appreciate it.
That will not necessarily be the case in our request next year, but we'll face that when we get to it. But it's a great question, and I appreciate that very much.
All set.
Madam Chair, I move that we appropriate or recommend to the commissioners that they appropriate $42,500.
Exactly.
Thank you all for your support very much. And as I always say, if you become aware of any transportation need in your towns that you think we have any chance of assisting with, or even if you don't think, please feel free to contact us. We'll do our best to work with you to help find solutions. Thank you very much.
$20.05 Androscoggin, Saginaw Extension.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jo Jean Keller. I am a resident of Lisbon Falls and Vice President of the Androscoggin-Saginaw Counties Extension Association. I'm here today to thank you for your support of our organization and to encourage you to consider restoring the funding to UMaine Extension to $51,154. The proposed 40% cut would have significant impact on the residents of Androscoggin County. Without funding, the level of programming currently offered to Androscoggin residents could not be sustained. Why should you consider this request? I would like to highlight some of our major program areas, and I'll start with our Master Gardening Program. 17 Master Gardener volunteers from Androscoggin County did 1,185 hours in 2021-2022. The 4 projects were Androscoggin Gleaners, the Onion Project, Community Gardens, and the Home Garden Answer Team. At the 2021 rate of $28.54 a volunteer hour, that is a value of over $33,800. 365, just a third of these hours, were worked directly in the Androscoggin projects of Auburn Community Garden, PAL Center Garden, Lisbon Community Garden, Durham School Garden, and Chris's Garden for the Harvest for Hunger program. The Androscoggin Gleaners rescued over 8,000 pounds of food for Androscoggin communities at a value of over $13,600. The Onion Project this year brought over 50,000 plants to Maine, with almost 40% at no charge to the projects, community, school, and growing to give type gardens. At a value of $4,000 for the plants alone, but well over $5,000 as harvested food. The Home Garden Answer Team answered over 200 questions. 41% were from Androscoggin County. That research and advice took over 100 hours from the Master Gardener volunteers that met weekly, and that is a value of nearly $3,000. This is all just volunteer time and does not reflect staff time in any way. It also reflects over $55,000 in value given back to the community from just those 4 projects. The 4-H Youth Development Program is in all communities in Androscoggin County. Through clubs, in school, and out-of-school programs, youth between the ages of 5 to 19 participate in our programming. Tonight, we have 3 4-H members, Maddie Gray, Summit Woodcock, and Adney Boothby, who would like to tell you the importance of 4-H in their lives. These 4-H members represent the future of Maine. Please welcome them to the microphone.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Maddie, and I've been in 4-H for 14 years. I joined when I was 5, which is the earliest possible age to join. And I originally joined because my siblings joined, and I wanted to fit in. I'm the baby, so I wanted to do what they were doing. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I had to find what inspired me because I was just doing it for them. And so when my siblings aged out when they were 18 or whatever, I had to make the decision if I wanted to stay in or if I wanted to leave. And when I was thinking back to when I joined when I was 5, I couldn't really picture a time in 4-H or a time in my life when 4-H wasn't a part. 4-H became a home for me. It became a safe place. It became my family. So I decided to stay in. And through that, opportunities came like Citizen Washington Focus, which is where youth get to go to Washington, D.C. and learn about how the government works. And we actually got to write bills and have a mock Congress to get them passed through. And that was a very big deal for me because the bill that I was helping write actually got passed through almost all the way. So that was a very cool experience for me. And then I also got to go to things like the Healthy Living Summit and learn about mental health and physical health and how to have a healthy balance in your life. And then I actually got to go back and teach about mental health. And that's where I developed my passion for mental health and helping others have a healthier, happier lifestyle. I also got to develop my mentoring skills. I developed a passion for leadership and community service through 4-H. And so through that, I developed a program called Big Clover, Little Clover. And that is where the big clovers, usually around 12 and older, get to mentor the younger clovers, which are 5 to 12. And they kind of take them under their and help them with their project records or help them just be like the best versions of themselves. And actually 2 little clovers of mine have really made an impact on me. One of them is Summit, and the other one is actually her sister, Scout. And this past 2 weeks ago, so past September, Scout and I were on a trip actually to the Big E, which is New England's biggest fair. And she was talking about what an influence I had made on her. I had sparked her interest for public speaking and helped her develop a lot of skills. And I can thank 4-H for that because really 4-H was the one who taught me that. 4-H also has helped me determine my future. So I developed my passion for leadership and communication, so that's going to be my majors. And I know that teaching is going to be a part of my career because 4-H has helped me through that. So 4-H lastly helped me get out of my shell because I know I was 5, so I was really little to really tell, but I was very shy and I didn't like talking in front of anybody. In fact, I cried during my first public speaking speech and I cried during my last one, but for completely different reasons. So 4-H really helped me branch out and be an extrovert and see people who are shy and help them find themselves, help them branch out. So all of this is because of 4-H. And now that I'm in college, I have a lot of papers to write, and I can't seem to write one paper without mentioning 4-H at least once. So that was kind of just a brief 4-H story. I could talk for a lot longer, but I know that they want to talk as well, so I won't suck up all the time. But thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Adney. I'm from Livermore, Maine, in Androscoggin County, and I'm here tonight to tell you why a fully funded extension office would be great. I currently serve as secretary for my club, Glee of Maine. The reason 4-H is important to me is because I have had so many new opportunities to try that I wouldn't have had otherwise. For example, I've learned to start my own small business, to quilt, to take minutes, and to be a strong participant of my club. In my first year, I took the opportunity to create a farm journal that will go along with other farm journals in history all the way back to the Civil War. My second and third year, I started a small popcorn business that I plan to grow and diversify. Increased profits allow me to return more money to my community, my country, and my. I value volunteerism that's a part of 4-H. Helping those in our area and beyond is very important to me, and 4-H has given me more opportunities to share and give back what I have. I'm 13 years old, but next year I'll be old enough to go on some of the national trips with other 4-H and learning how to be better 4-H representatives and leaders for change. 4-H has been instrumental in helping me find friends with similar perspectives but varied interests and passions. This is very important as we start to learn and grow and help our world so we can conserve and share opinions openly and respectfully. 4-H has helped me become a part of my community in new ways that help me listen with new ears to those around me. This is preparing me to become a more valuable member of our community being here tonight. Please consider fully funding 4-H in this coming budget year, so my fellow and future 4-Hers and I can look forward to opportunities that bring us out of our comfort zones and into greater service. Thank you for your attention and consideration. I have a letter from one of my clubmates, and she couldn't be here tonight, but she wanted to share it. Second year in 4-H, and my group has become like a family. We all share the goal to make the world a better place. Already I've learned so much from others, and I have many opportunities that I may not have been able to have and to do without 4-H. I've learned cool things like how a business meeting works and even soap making. I believe that being in 4-H has pushed me out of my comfort zone and helped me to try things that I have never done before. If it weren't for the support from our group's leader, I know I wouldn't have been able to have the courage to step out leadership roles and voice ideas in my club. I know for sure that if 4-H wasn't something I truly cared about, I wouldn't have bothered with speaking out. But because 4-H is something that I love, and I want everyone to know that 4-H community helps kids and teens like me grow confident and become better people.
Hi, my name is Summit Woodcock, and I'm 12 years old, and I'm a member of the Gleafmead 4-H Club in Livermore, Maine. I've been in 4-H for 5 years. Tonight, I would like to share with you some of my citizenship projects that I have completed to help my community. My first citizenship project that I completed while I was in 4th grade was the Buddy Bench project. I noticed that other kids were getting bullied, and I didn't think that was very fair for others. So I decided to reach out to my community members, and I voiced my opinion and raised money for buddy benches to go to my elementary and primary school in my district. Buddy benches are where if you feel left out or alone or like you don't have friends, you go and sit on it so that you can make new friends. This was my first really big project for 4-H that I really enjoyed. And I felt a great passion about helping others because giving back to my community is really important to me, and I feel that that is a very large aspect of 4-H. My second citizenship project that I'm in the process of completing is the Feeding Phoenix Food Pantry. Now I'm in middle school. I have worked on feeding my community. I have a teacher mentor that has helped me start my project after raising money from a conference that I went to speak about one of my past projects. And it led me back to the times of my past citizenship project. And it feels really nice to give back to my community and my peers and my friends that need help, because when you have food at home, it makes you feel good, and you want others to be able to have that same thing. This past week, I got elected president for my 4-H club after writing a cover letter and resume. This was not a very fun process, but I have loved the outcome, and I was really happy to see my fellow 4-H members get their officer roles and see them grow and learn. 4-H has given me so much. Probably 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been speaking to you tonight. I would have been scared. But I've been doing public speaking for 4 years, and it has helped me with planning and organizing and many other skills. There's so many, I can't even list them all. For these reasons, I would like you to consider fully funding 4-H, because 4-H is a family to me, and it means so much to me. It's a home. Thank you.
Thank you.
My sister is currently out with a concussion. I have a speech that I would like to share. My sister is 13, and this will also be her 5th year in 4-H. In 4-H, she has had so many life-changing opportunities. She has been president, secretary, public relations officer, and chair of several committees throughout her 4-H career. She has participated in 4 years of public speaking competitions and been to the Biggie in Massachusetts. She also got the chance to start her own chicken and sunflower business. 4-H is like a family to her. Her 4-H clubs have several members, and they all make her feel really welcome and supported. She's gained so much from 4-H, and without 4-H, she wouldn't have been who she was today. Thank you.
Linda?
Yes, I just had a question. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I thought maybe you were done. I apologize, I'll wait.
Thank you so much to Maddie, Summit, and Adney for really expressing very eloquently what a value 4-H is to them. Again, we hope that the Budget Committee will consider recommending the Cooperative Extension Program in Androscoggin County for the full amount requested of $51,154. The unique services provided by our organization impact all constituents regardless of age or location. I will turn it over for questions, and Tori Jackson and Christy Willett are ready to answer your questions.
Would you like to start?
Thank you. Actually, had a clarifying question for Clarice, if she might inform us again the proper procedure for us to recommend something being looked at again by the commissioners. And is there a number of votes that needs for that to happen?
Yeah, it would be
11 votes?
10, I think. Don't have.
We don't have the quorum to send that back for them to look at
You
again.
can always look at it next meeting. Like table it, basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask that it be tabled just so we can hear from the commissioners on
That's
why they
my
made the
next thing,
change.
yeah. Because, and I'm just going to speak, so I did go through the Master Gardeners program. I know exactly what the extension does, what the gleaners do, and how important this is for all of Androscoggin County, for all of the state, as a matter of fact. With food insecurities that we're seeing nowadays, with the number of people that are looking for food, the work that they do, and they give that food, the gleaners, to a lot of our resources that go out to people that can't afford food. I personally would like to see an explanation from the commissioners, and possibly if we can table this for a future, to send it back to them when we have everybody here. Thank you.
I just have one question. Why does Androscoggin County contribute 63% of the budget as opposed to Saginaw County doing 50 and 50?
Sure, so that was a calculation that was voted on at the time based on population. So census to get that. So currently, the way it was in 2020 was we have a joint.
So following that, likely we'd need to have some discussion over the course of a year, probably a year from now, before we could make that change.
I'd like to pose a question to the interim administrator, find out whether or not the commissioners gave any direction or indication as to why they cut 7% of the proposed budget. They give any reasoning for that, or?
Budget being tight this year, they were looking at ways to reduce expenses. And they
That's a cut of almost 60%.
Yeah.
Almost 60%.
And you said that the census hasn't been done since 2010?
There's a
It
20.
was just,
I don't know, like I haven't, so I don't know the changing.
Larry?
Yes, thank you. First off, I want to thank the young ladies, their presentation, which shows them being involved in the 4-H, gave them the ability, the guts, to get up and speak. On that, I want to thank them. The other thing is, how many members in the 4-H do you know in sorry,
Sure, so we have kind of different levels of involvement. So in our traditional club programs, which are the club programs that you probably think about when you think about 4-H, so those are the kiddos that you might see at the levels of community service. We have about 56 4-H members in Androscoggin County that are actively involved in our club program. But then we have hundreds of kids that are involved in our program, our school-based programs. In the materials that were provided to you, you'll read about 4-H Community Central, which is a grant-funded program from the USDA and NIFA that directly serves young people in Lewiston. So we are partnering with Lewiston High School and Lewiston Housing Authority, and we serve roughly between 25 and 30 young people through that really intense workforce development.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had is your budget for last year. Was it enough? Was it a shortfall?
So, as you can see from the materials that we provided you, the that come from Androscoggin and Saginaw counties really to operate our extension office. So it pays for our support staff person, their salary. Their benefits are picked up by the university. It pays for heating oil and electricity in our sewer and our supplies for our office. Our salaries as faculty members are actually paid for by the university. It kind of leverages through this county extension. We were okay with our budget last year. We don't have a lot to cut. That's why we've asked for funding. With heating prices and those kinds of things that are so unknown, we're doing our best to estimate and just really operating on a bare bones. We understand that inflation is real, people are paying more, any sort of tax increase is hard on everybody. So we're trying to be as fiscal.
Thank you.
Circling back to the census, 2021 census data, Androscoggin would be 75%. Saginaw would be 25%. Might be worse for us. Let's hope Saginaw doesn't figure that one out.
Now they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to table?
All those in favor? Adcock.
Yes, is that the original? Yeah. Yeah, it's in there. Okay.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
They're a hard act to follow, I have to say. Hi, good evening. My name is Amy Landry, and I'm the Executive Director of the Androscoggin Valley Council of Governments. Here to request that you reconsider the commissioner's decision to not fund AvCog's member dues for this year, which is $79.50.
79.
I didn't know the exact number. So I did present to the commissioners at the end of August, and at that meeting, they did vote 5-0 in favor of supporting AvCog's membership dues. So I don't know what the reconsideration was at the end of the process, but my understanding is that they ultimately chose not to. I'll ask Craig's question. How many of you know AvCog or what we do and have experience? Good. So for those of you who don't, and I know I just asked Clarice and it was in your packet, which is our at a glance, which describes kind of the work that we do. But I'll just give a quick overview of the agency. We are a regional economic development district designated by the federal government in many different aspects of what we do on a regional basis. But we do cover Androscoggin, Franklin, and Oxford County. And we provide a variety of services to our member municipalities and counties, which I've highlighted the kind of major programs that we operate within that at a glance that was provided to you. Our budget is primarily federally funded. We have a variety of different federal programs that we operate that support all of the programs that we do. The three areas are within economic development, business development, transportation, and land use planning are the primary areas that we operate in. So the majority of our funding, as I said, is federal, and then we have membership dues, which is what is being requested tonight. That is all based on a formula. It's a formula that looks at valuation and population, but for counties, that's at a there's a factor applied to that, because certainly we wouldn't do it at the county's valuation. And that is a small portion, and it was in the at a glance on the back of that. If you can look at the kind of the revenue that we receive and where it comes from, you'll see, and the blues are a little bit hard to differentiate, but the member contributions are the small sliver, which is about $260,000, well, $253,000 of our $4.4 million overall budget. What we use dues to support is our programs, our technical assistance that we provide to the municipalities in a variety of areas, primarily in planning, economic development. Transportation, for Lewis and Auburn, we are the direct recipient of Federal Transit Administration funds, which operate the CityLink bus system. Well, Western Maine operates it under a contract, but AvCog is the direct recipient of those funds. We staff the Lewis and Auburn Transit Committee, which operates the system. So we AvCog actually match a little bit of those federal dollars. So things like that are used to match federal program funds. It seems like a small piece of our budget, but it's very important for our municipalities because it does provide the services to them, and it also supports drawing down those dollars from the federal government. Transportation is one example. We receive other federal funding through the Department of Commerce, through our loan pools. We directly lend to small business. We do one-on-one business advising through the Maine Small Business Development Center. One thing that I thought I would bring that I didn't have because it was I don't want to inundate you with paper, but this is a program that we did in partnership with the state of Maine. We do get some funds from the state, but this was particularly with the CARES Act money, the Maine Economic Recovery Grant Program. The state said support small businesses during COVID. Here we go. So we can't directly give money to. So essentially, the commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development contacted me and my counterparts across the state. There are 7 economic development districts, and said, we need somebody to deliver this program for us. Can you deliver this program? And in 2 years alone, just in our AvCog 3-county region, we awarded 556 grants to 330 businesses and nonprofits for over $15 million. And what this chart does for you is it kind of breaks it down by county, so you can see that the majority of the funding, 52% of it, went to businesses in Androscoggin County for a total of $7.9 million. It even breaks it down by municipality and the type of business that received that support. That's just one example of where we can partner with the state if there's a need to deliver services, that we can do that and deliver it. That rolled out in probably a 2-month period of time where the state was, we need to get this money out the door, we need to do it today. That's just one example. We have a variety of other programs that you'll see in the packet that I provided that have supported things like brownfields assessments and cleanups for redevelopment. This is since 2015, but all of these sites that you see, all of these, 226 Oxford Street, 281 Bate Street, 131 Main Street, all of these projects are grants that we receive, but we turn around and we deploy those grants to these projects. So we may receive the funding and get some administrative costs covered to do our work with it, but it really goes right back out to do phase 1, phase 2 brownfield assessments, which can be anywhere from a phase 2 assessment can be $50,000 that went to this one project. We also have a cleanup revolving loan fund, which we can sub-grant and loan to clean up these sites that have resulted in all kinds of redevelopments. 62 Spring Street, the Hartley block on Lisbon Street in Lewiston, the Hampshire and Troy Street buildings right here. I mean, there's a variety of projects I could talk about, but it's, money we receive and then can put out to good use to support our communities. And then there's the basic technical assistance. I sit here and I look at Lisa with Minot as an example. I mean, we contract with our municipalities to provide them staffing that they don't have, so we can work with their planning staff, planning boards, do project development reviews, do comprehensive plan work, do GIS mapping. So kind of that extension of staff that they may not have as another example of what dues really support. Yes.
Do our municipalities also pay dues, or is it just the county?
No, municipalities pay dues based on valuation and population.
My question is I'd really like to know why it went 5-0, then they reviewed it and said 4-0. No explanation.
I wasn't at that meeting. I would defer to maybe Clarice if she knows of any conversation, but I do not know.
And the only, like I said, the only conversation is they were looking for places to cut.
Yeah, but this is such a vital section that I don't know why they would cut it. This is, this is not like cutting a basketball team. This is things that happen in our community all over this.
Just have a couple comments. I'm a fan of AvCog. I sit on the planning board. I go to these meetings. The stuff is over my head, And we have representatives that help us from AvCog. They help us get through all of the land use code. They help us with all of our subdivisions. We, in a small community like mine, we don't have the talent we do pay our dues, but we rely on the service. I get concerned when we cut, and this is not a big budget item here, but it's a collaborative effort, I think, for not only my community, but all of our communities that we support AVCOG. And we support that as being Androscoggin County. I did have one question. We actually discussed this in our selectmen meeting the other night. If the funding of this doesn't happen, would you go back to the smaller municipalities and raise your fee to us in order to cover this?
Well, anytime we reduce revenue in, from dues, we have to make it up, right, somewhere. So it could impact future, when the executive committee looks at dues and how much we have. If we lose revenue, then we may have to raise dues. I mean, we haven't, and typically we haven't, we've had minimal dues increases over the years. Our board has been very, very conscious of that. And we as an agency have been very concerned about, municipal budgets, and we try to not raise dues if we don't have to, and we really haven't to speak of over the last few years. But I mean, it is a potential. I mean, as you lose revenue and you need to have it to cover it. I would also comment that both other counties are members of AVCOG.
Notice that we budgeted for this for 2022, but we have not expended for it.
So we bill our dues like a year and a half ahead of time. So the dues assessment that that was approved last year actually is effective for our next fiscal year, which began October 1st. So what you are approving today would be for the fall, would be technically due next September.
And we have just paid the bill.
So like this December, our board will develop the new dues rates, the assessments, and those bills, we go out in January because most municipalities do their town meetings in the spring. And so they have to build it into their budgets, but they're not due until September of the following year. So it's just the timing.
Larry?
I guess I would say that nobody, if my colleagues from Lewiston will agree with me, would appreciate an attempt to reduce expenditures in the budget any more than we do in Lewiston. We've had 3 or 4 very tough years. I think people look at the assessments and stuff across the county and understand where I'm coming from. But this whole discussion seems to be very short-sighted, looking at curtailing the capacity of AVCOG, bring funding into municipalities. They bring in far more than we expend. And certainly 79, call it $8,000 is minute compared to looking at the grants that have been obtained and dispersed throughout the county. I mean, there's some of the areas, looking at some of the areas way up north in the county, they have received far more than the county has paid for dues, is being assessed for dues. So we don't have the votes to lay it on the table, to send it back, but I would move that we lay it on the table until we can hear from the commissioners their philosophy on it. I believe we only have advisory capacity, but certainly we can send a strong message.
I second your motion to table.
Well, we have.
No, I was actually going to make a motion to table it until such time as we could hear from the commission.
Okay, thank you.
I'm okay.
I just wanted to make sure. Nope, I just wanted to make sure.
Good.
Tabling it?
Good.
Table.
I believe.
Yeah,
I'll
we got a
second it either
second.
way.
Jane was the
I think Jane
second.
was already a second, so.
Right.
We have to make
All those in favor?
all in favor.
All those in favor? Sorry, guys, for this one.
We apologize to the folks at AVCOG for not being able to give you an answer now, but we'd rather give it a right answer.
Appreciate it very much. So this will be taken up at another meeting? Okay.
Yes.
So you can invite me back.
You get this, Jim.
Yeah, I do. So it will be on there.
And if I may, I just want to say that I think that we're in a bit of a quandary here, where we don't have enough people to actually make the statement that we want to send this back to them. I think it's unfortunate that we don't have the numbers here. And I just want to say that I think it's really important that we're all here for our next meetings, because I have a lot of concerns about some of the stuff I'm seeing, and without knowing why the commissioners did what they did, and us not being able to have to table this, I feel like we're kind of stuck in what we can move forward and do.
I would agree. I wonder why there can't be an explanation from the commissioners, a note placed in each section of the budget on their comments on, and perhaps it's something we can suggest for future budgets, that how they went through that decision-making process. And it may be one line, we didn't have enough money, but so that we understand that process.
Larry?
And I'd like to know why it has to be a quorum in order to be able just to send something back. I can see if we were voting to approve on something. I think it should be a majority kind of vote to be able to just send something back. I think it's a lot of waste of time, and now we have to go to another.
It's
Yeah,
charter.
that's a city, that's a county
Well, if the
charter.
county changes the charter,
So
we're stuck.
we're not gonna complain about it, we'll just move forward, because we can't. It's unfortunate, but. 2035, Soil and Conservation District. Celebrations.
Good evening, everybody. I must admit, following those young ladies is a little bit intimidating. My first question, y'all, do you guys have our packet? Was that passed on?
We do have a
You all?
packet.
It was? Yeah. Great, wonderful. Yes, please, if you don't mind.
Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water Conservation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Also some other.
Thank you.
This is Emma, one of our staff members, and I asked her to please print out our meeting last week. This is her report to give you guys kind of a quick snapshot in the month of the life of what the Soil and Water Conservation District does, as Emma is our project manager, and unfortunately, our administrative assistant was diagnosed with COVID this morning. So she is not here. So we will do our best with the numbers, and yet at the same time, and to get right to the end of my thing here that I have now learned with the rest of what's been going on, we were looking for a supermajority vote to put us back in the budget. So I understand that that's not possible this evening. But if you don't mind, I'd like to read what I wrote. Public speaking is not part of a farmer's repertoire, so
Should flag with the girls down for it.
I was like sitting back there going, oh, God,
Just kidding.
man, they're good. But that is our future, being a farmer. That was beautiful to see. That is our future. So hello and thank you. My name is Steve Sinisi. I am the chair of the Androscoggin Valley and Soil Water Conservation District, as well as a livestock farmer and a new butcher shop owner in Durham and Wales, Maine. I am here tonight to request that our organization be put back into the fiscal budget for the next year to be funded at $14,000. That has been the historical amount that we have received from Androscoggin County. As some of you may know or not know, our last meeting with the commissioners last month, we were asked to apply for the extra funding request that we asked for $10,000 from the remaining ARPA funding that the county had. We had losses of revenue due to the pandemic, as we were not able to hold any of our events in person that were part of our revenue stream. Normally, we host workshops with the state to help educate septic installers for control of wastewater and on proper ways of handling erosion control for installers, construction, and homeowners. We were denied that request because we did not lose enough money to warrant funding. We have dropped the request for that extra funding and currently searching out grant opportunities and have already received some money from one grant opportunity for $1,000 for penny counts. We kept only one staffer through the pandemic. We leaned ourselves down to rebuild our office. We are starting out new with staff, hiring Emma and our new administrative assistant, Teresa, who is not here. See here, resume, okay. There are 16 districts in total in Maine, covering the entire state. And things have changed a lot since these districts have been in existence. 10 years ago, when I started attending the district meetings, the board was filled with dairy farmers, vegetable truck farmers, and beef farmers. Today, they have all retired and are no longer in business. Our society has changed from agrarian to a capitalist industrial technological one that no longer has the farmer in the majority or given any priority. We are starting to reshape this district to be more involved with our schools, our local businesses, small farmers, both rural and now urban, water protection groups, and trying to get our communities back outside, to teach and have a connection with nature and the wonderful outdoor opportunities that our district offers. This outreach is to teach about how we can enjoy and take care of our soils, our waterways, and not just maintain them, but make them better for humans and wildlife. Personal note, when I first came to Maine, people told me don't swim or fish in the Androscoggin River. That's changed. 22 years since I have been here. So, our organization works alongside NRCS, which is the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is a federal USDA program. Our office is actually shared with NRCS in the USDA building in Lewiston. As of 2022, this is just what we were presented from NRCS last week, there have over $800,000 in funding for coming projects in Androscoggin and Sagadahoc, which we do receive $10,000 in funding from Sagadahoc County. That is part of our budget. The majority of the NRSS funding coming into Andrew County, of that 800,000, Androscoggin gets quite a bit of that. So we have an office agreement with NRCS to help with contracts, paperwork, phone service, and field work, and correspondence with landowners, farmers, as well as municipalities to assist in the allocation of these monies from NRCS. We also host and help plan the local work group meeting that is open to the public to help allocate the funding for these projects in our counties. The meeting is coming up on October 26th. I would encourage you to look into what these NRCS projects are and think of actually attending this meeting. Projects range from animal waste storage facilities down to bat habitat research. It's endless. There are hundreds of these different programs that NRCS brings that people are allowed to apply for. We understand the county is under a budget shortfall. Our goal over the next 2 years is to start working towards being less reliable on our counties for financial assistance. The $14,000 that we are asking for is about 20% of our 70,000 roughly plus size of our budget, our annual budget to run the district. There are several districts in Maine that no longer rely on county assistance. One of them being Cumberland. They have a staff of 14 and they offer services that we would love to do, but yet it took them over 30 years to build that up. Our board recently met with the head of NRCS for the state of Maine. He is new to the state. And NRCS is being refunded. And so we met talking about monies now are available to potentially help us with training new staff. Basically helping the districts kind of get back on their feet, but offer even more services to the districts and also the communities. That money, though, is federal dollars that need to be spent in a certain way with much documentation. This is how we hope to build the district's ability to offer technical assistance again, as we once did, bringing in again another revenue stream we had before the pandemic. I could go on and on. This is what I'm passionate about, and really I could go on and on and on. But I want to express how the work we've been doing and how important the district is, and in so many ways to our county communities. Not to mention where and how we are trying to reorganize our services and how we are rebuilding to meet the current needs of our communities. Without funding now, our abilities to keep our district staffed and to grow the district in this new way would be a big hit, and not just to our great staff and our communities at large. Please know that the two great women that we have been working very, very hard to figure out how to not just keep their jobs, but the district business, and to grow and find new funding sources for this district. That all does take time and money. If you decide to fund us at the $14,000 requested, I really do look forward to coming back next year and sharing with you how we are changing, what resources we have found, and to help us be more self-sustainable, as well as give a better report of actually the good work we're really, really doing. That all said, like I said, I was looking for a supermajority vote so that we could go back to the commissioners and hopefully get back into that funding pool. Yeah, I appreciate the chance to speak. This is a new experience for me. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
May I share that I'm from a homeowners association in Poland that has taken advantage of the services of the Soil and Water District, and it has helped us protect our lake greatly. In Poland right now, we're having some major problems with Middle Rang, which has an algae bloom, and we have to deal with that. And we are going to be bringing a bunch of professionals together to educate the select board on and the lake associations on what we can do to save our lakes. And resources like this are incredibly important.
That's what we do, soil and water. Like, that's our drive. So yeah. Any other questions for me? Otherwise, I know Emma wanted to say something.
I don't have too much else to add, but thanks so much for the time for me to speak as well. So I'm the project director. My name is Emma. Just wanted to reiterate a lot of what Steve has said. I think that you have received this information here. So this just represents the educational events that have run since last October. Historically, the district has run about 8 or 9 events annually, and in the past year, I have run about 25 just in Androscoggin County alone. So we're really trying to do our best on a shoestring budget to demonstrate to the community that we are there for them, and also that there are resources to take advantage of, and hopefully to give them some more education on how they can mitigate erosion or help build up the beautiful resources that we already have here in Androscoggin County. What else? I think that Steve touched a lot upon the partnership that we have with NRCS, and really just want to like bring home the fact that funding for the Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water Conservation District will help to bring in more money through NRCS. So when our staff is able to facilitate and assist NRCS, we're able to do more outreach with local Androscoggin Valley farmers or Androscoggin farmers, and hopefully bring in more money to the county to work on larger projects for landowners, for farmers, for all sorts of people who are interested in receiving that type of funding. Yeah, so. Mhm.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Just a quick one. I noticed on some of your information, you were talking about a meet and greet with this Atticus. And I'm wondering, how often do the different county soil and water commissions, you guys get together, share information, share resources, what's working, what's not?
Yeah, so monthly, we have a Zoom meeting that we all try and attend, and it's mostly just like an open forum or for people to ask questions and sort of network with other districts. It's been really helpful for me. I just started about a year ago. So yeah, we do that about monthly, and we also have annual meetings through the Maine Association of Districts. Any other question?
Make a motion with table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hate to be repetitive tonight, but.
We're gonna table it.
All in favor?
Yeah.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, 2025 employee benefits.
Changing hats.
So these are our employee benefits. First line, health and dental insurance. At the beginning of the process, I mentioned that we had to, because of the jail tax cap, we had to move $236,000 out of the jail retiree medical, and this is the line that it went to in the county. So that was a lot of the increase in that line. And Maine state retirement, the increase there, union negotiations. Plus, the Maine state retirement is a percentage of their income, and there were increases in pay. And also, there was a change in the pension, was an increase in the cost. So that's the increase there. And pretty much everything else, the tax is based on increase because of the increase in pay.
Here's what your request was the 1,840, but yet the commissioners it to 276. What's the reason?
That was the 236,000.
Oh, okay.
Yep, okay.
Maine state retirement, that's a huge jump.
Yeah, it's 161
We're talking
million.
70%.
Yeah.
So the plan changed, they went from, and I don't know, a 25-year to a 20. The total cost for the county and the jail was about 155,000. So this is the county portion of that increase. The other part, the jail would have been in the jail.
So we're dropping it from 25 to 20, and then dropping some useful programs?
It's union negotiations.
Okay. Just trying to clarify, because it seems like we have some programs that we just tabled that could really use some funding.
Yeah, I think
so
we
it's gonna
know
help.
what happened to the money and why they had to
Yeah.
make the changes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if we stayed at the 25 years instead of the 20.
A lot of the union negotiations and the changes in the pay and the benefits were to try to get deputies. We were having a hard time hiring and retaining employees in the sheriff's department, which is the union negotiation primarily. So that was trying to attract new hires.
Okay.
Because we were very understaffed at the time. So, leave it.
They went from a 25 wage to a 20 wage. The difference, again, at the time, the changes, the cost projection at the time was almost a 5% difference in contribution county per employee. The employee, because the employees also had to pay more. It was and there was two options before. One was the 25 2/3 with 30 of your departments going with Lewiston, Auburn. We proposed both. Actually gives down the road a cost savings because of salaries and vacation time. It's there for, and the cost was so similar to 25 2/3, 20 year. The employees went with 20 year.
Thank you. for explaining
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
But can they work beyond the 20?
They can, but because of something discovered around 2010, contribution stays the same, percentage for employee, percentage for employer. They can earn 2% higher on their pension for every year they stay on. So it's not really 50% that they retire on, but that's what they say, 2%. So if they said 5 years, in fact, you'd say they get 60% of their highest three. But when you meet with Main State Retirement, it's really not 60%, some formula. So yes, they can stay on if they elect.
Staying on.
Most of all.
Thank you for explaining.
Yes, thank you very much. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to accept the.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get my math right, $1,972,000.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, Larry, for staying on top of me. Appreciate it. 1065 Registry of Deeds.
My name's Tina, I'm the Register of Deeds, and I presented my budget with a increase. I really restored most of the lines that were taken away from the I wouldn't say taken away, just given because we were basically on lockdown, couldn't do anything anyhow. But other than that, everything is pretty much the same. If you have any questions for me, I can answer them.
I'm impressed that your phones are $750 per year and everyone else is $1,200. Where are you getting that good deal?
With that, I just pay, it's a package that the county has, and I pay my portion.
I explain out. So we get a total bill, and department pays a percentage of how many phones their department has. So if I have 4 phones, that percentage, you may have 8. Is that much?
Any questions about my department? I'd be happy, I just don't want to in case anyone's.
I have a question about microfilm.
Yep.
Is that still a viable technology?
You know, that line has been called microfilm forever, and we don't physically microfilm anymore. It's all done by FTP through the internet. But
Scan.
yeah, all the documents are scanned in every day, and then at the end of the month, we forward them by FTP to Iron Mountain, which is in Pennsylvania. We do it through a secure line through Brown Tech, which is my software system. They support all that. That's all part of that fee. The support, the backup that we get from them. I have a disaster recovery program. There's a lot of things that are built into that. That's been called microfilm since the day I started working here, so we've never changed it.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to 19,373,000.
All in favor?
And do we lower your revenue line? Vote on that. Oh, so we're gonna, well, there's a revenue line.
There's two revenues.
Yeah, where's the revenue line? It's on, under the different tab of expenditures and revenues.
Yep.
Beginning of the binder. Yeah. It flat from last year, something like from a revenue perspective.
I did raise the tax by 10,000. I did raise the transfer tax by 10,000.
About 16,000 more overall.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at that line, the 9,100, right? I was actually going to suggest that we make a motion to raise that to 225, where you're already at that for this year. If that's your line item, I don't see why we would maybe at least that for next year. We still have.
This year.
Understood.
Okay. I raised it, we did this a couple weeks ago, I raised it to 10,000. I just don't know, you know, I know I can do this, okay, I feel very confident about doing this. I know 5,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but in the sales, I mean, not as many houses are being sold, but the prices that they're being sold at is crazy. And that's what's bringing this transfer tax money up so high. But now they're increasing the interest, so I don't know if I dare.
The sales are starting to drop, volume.
I mean,
Yeah, the bubble has burst.
This is a way to that I'm trying to take out, and it's not a significant amount. So if we're at 226 now, and there's still some allows that extra 5,000, just might help us with some of the things that we may add back in. It's just.
We need a supermajority vote to make that suggestion.
Yes, we would.
Yes, we would. Tonight's coined word.
So table the revenue piece.
All in favor?
Just tell us who made the motion and who seconded that.
I second.
I made the motion.
Okay.
That would be account 9075 for the registry of deeds of 600,000.
Linda seconded. Linda seconded. Oh, sorry, you just looked at me, so I didn't know. All in favor? 1070, Registry of Probate.
Good evening, folks. My name is Tom Reynolds. I'm the Register of Probate. And just to give a brief overview of the probate department, we have a staff of two. We have Julie Bertrand, who's our deputy register, been with us for 15 years. Our clerk is Sharon Feldman, who's been with us for 5 years. Judge Dubois has been sitting on the bench in the probate court for 10 years, and I am halfway through my second term. Probate court handles estates. Of course, everybody, I think, more often than not, associates us with when people pass away and there are estates to deal with, and we deal with that. But we also deal with guardianships of minors. More often in these days, see it associated with families who are having issues with the opioid epidemic and individuals not able to take care of their children. So you have grandparents, other members of the family or community taking on the role of guardians. On the other end of the spectrum, when we have our aged population and people with issues of health or capacity that they're not able to take care of themselves or make some or total decisions on their own behalf, we have guardianships for adults. And we also handle name changes, which we do quite a few of those, and adoptions, adult and minors. And these are all non-DHHS adoptions. In our budget, it is, in fact, the smallest budget in the county. And it's certainly reflecting our needs for the coming year. There are a few increases. Of course, salaries and wages. And as Tina, with the deeds department, reflected that some of the increases are to restore some of what had been taken away previously. But mileage certainly had to be raised a little bit. And our software maintenance agreement, again, these are small increases. And again, it is the minimum that will allow us to provide the service that we do in the community. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
For your attorney for court appointed.
Yep.
Just it's looking that your amount has been flat, but you're way under for the past 2 years. Is that COVID related, or just help me out with what's that related to? So I suggested.
Right, and so I've been tracking that, and we are actually at, as of earlier this week, I ran a report, and we're at 17,977 expended. And early on last year, I think it was last year, that with the new probate code, we were by statute required to provide legal services for people where we hadn't been before. And that is when we looked at numbers and tried to come up with a realistic ballpark of what we were going to be liable for. And this is statute. You could cut it in half, but we're still required to pay. And these are for, what falls under this category is, of course, so whenever there's a guardian ad litem or transcribing, and interpreters fall under this, and people that are qualified to be indigent, you know, like if you're below a certain amount, then, you know, and you need a lawyer, we are required to provide that service. So with, you know, I guess really what I want to express here is that looking back 10 years, there were years where we were flat or, you know, it didn't rise. But there was other years where there were spikes. So, you know, I had to come up with a reason, like where could I be safe in that ballpark? And as you can see, with the 17,977, where we're at now, and this is October, we have November and December, you know, I think we're going to exceed the 22,000. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any backlog from COVID?
No. No.
That's a good answer.
So we did not, so I think, if I remember correctly, in 2020, all the probate courts, I think, were pretty quick to step up and I'm actually very proud of what we did in our office. Prior to COVID, we had already put the infrastructure of a television and cameras and stuff like that so that we were able to do remote hearings. So that's why we're not. And now we have a combination of mostly in-person hearings, but if for some reason there's somebody who's involved in a party, in a hearing, they're not able to attend, they can participate via a remote, and if something happens and we have to go back to remote hearings, we're able to do that.
So no backlog.
No backlog.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Larry, want a second?
Yeah. Either way.
I'll make a motion to accept the $292,100 that's presented.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Larry's got me.
I would actually make a motion to table that, and I would like to entertain increasing that to 70. What are you talking, what?
An additional 5.
A motion on the floor, I believe. I believe there was a motion on the floor before you wanted to introduce your motion, ma'am.
I thought we just voted on that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I did.
That, then we'd be asking to change what we just voted on?
No, we voted on the expenses. She's making a
The
motion
expenses.
On the revenue?
piece.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get
Yeah.
it.
Okay there. I would second that if nobody else has seconded.
Table it.
Yes, table it.
What do you suggest, Rachel?
I was going to suggest, just in looking at the revenues of the office, I was going to recommend 170. He's already there this year, and even, except for the year of COVID, it's been pretty good in that area. But again, we need to table it.
All in favor?
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. So 10:20, commissioners?
I'm coming in to talk. Get started.
Oh. So what are we doing that?
So that's me.
Ah.
So this budget is the administrator, the administrator's assistant and the commissioner. Their pay, this was actually done initially when Mr. Post was still here. I tweaked it a little bit after he left, and this is, we moved some of the stuff into ARPA as far as the capital, and moved professional fees, 2,000 of that into HR, and you'll hear about that in the next one, but those are the changes.
What are the professional fees listed at? I think 10,000 was requested.
So they dropped it down to 8, and I agree because we put 2,000 into HR, but that is legal fees. That's if we need to contact our lawyer.
So you've annually not used anything close to that? Is there an
Luckily,
expectation
we've
that
been
there's a
pretty
large
lucky.
legal bill coming up?
Nope, we've been lucky. I've heard the stories that they were, what, 50, 60,000
Luck does
a
not
year.
exist in government. You either do it right or you do it wrong.
Yeah, I don't know of any, but there's always the chance that we may need the lawyer. Sure.
Question, what are the commissioners' salary increase this year? Do they have?
They did not increase. They can't increase their own. Has to come from you.
I'll make a motion to accept the $204,742 as requested.
All in favor?
Opposed, yeah, you have to ask opposed, because two people did not raise their hand. Opposed?
Again, the legal fees concern me that it's inflated when the money can be better used elsewhere.
I was thinking the same thing. If you
Unless there's
look at
something
that-
out there on the horizon that somebody's really concerned about, any legal issue that comes before the county today is probably not going to be litigated or decided for months, possibly even years. So you can plan for that budget-wise later. I just don't see allocating 10,000 that sits when you probably don't need it and you haven't used it in the past.
Actually, I change and agree with you on that.
Thank you.
Can I put my 2 cents in? There being a new administrator coming in, that is also consulting. So I think we were kind of thinking that the new person may need some consulting or attorney to bounce things off if they weren't familiar. That's just my 2 cents.
Have we started recruiting?
I think they're waiting for this process to be over. Budget.
I'm sticking with what my decision is. I still think that $5,000 could have gone to AvCog. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but,
no,
and that
It's
still would have
literally
left
that simple.
$5,000 for consulting and legal fees if those were to come up. So I'm comfortable with my vote.
Glad to hear your reason.
I have a question, however. If your vote was changed, what's the requirement for quorum? Is it a majority of the president or a majority of the budget committee itself?
This has to be 11.
Always has to be 11 on
No,
everything.
11 for reconsiderations, right? But to approve this, not oppose it. What does it take? A majority of the entire budget committee or a majority of those present? Because if you changed your vote, I don't believe you have, I believe you now only have 7 of 15 members.
Can I actually?
We need to vote the decision and make another, and accept that, and
That's
then make
correct.
another motion to start the process
Okay.
over again. If
I'd
I'm
like to
correct.
Then I'd like to make a motion that we,
It would have to be someone who's on the prevailing side, so I can't make a motion.
That's fine, you can, and you can second it.
I can't.
Okay.
Because I wasn't on the prevailing
I'll
side.
second it for you, I'll second it for you.
Point of order, Madam. This begs the question, the majority and stuff like that. Any vote we've taken tonight, is it effective? I mean, if it requires a majority
I
to
don't
send
think it
something
is.
to the commissioners.
I don't think
that
so.
we
We're gonna
approve, does
redo
that
all of this
require
next
the
week.
11 votes?
So the only, but when the 11 votes are important, or as if you're trying to change something.
Only for a change?
Correct.
Okay.
That was my understanding.
I would say to wait 2 hours tonight doing all this and find out that we did nothing.
Exactly.
Although, to that end, I think we can where we stand and next time, next time we will take up and get on where we're going to.
I don't think any votes made tonight would change.
No, I
We
do,
bring-
except for maybe this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we had a first and a second, so all in favor to revoke? So do you want to make a new motion?
I would make a motion that we approve it at, I would,
It's still a change, so wouldn't we have to table it? I'm sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
we do.
Yeah, we have to table it.
okay. So I'll make a motion to table it until we can discuss with the commissioners, reducing the amount in the legal fees line.
To what?
I would suggest $4,000. I think 4,000 could go a long ways elsewhere, and that's still plenty of money. Is that a friendly
Well, it's
amendment?
going to be tabled, we'll have to discuss it
I would
anyway.
accept that as a friendly amendment if you feel 5 is better.
I mean, we gotta table it anyway, so we can discuss it.
Sure.
Agree
good
that
with
we
that.
just do an even, split it in the middle, give them half and keep half
Well,
somewhere else.
yeah, 8 was what the commission recommended, so I was splitting that in half.
Right.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
All right, 1021, human resources.
I'm
just owning it now?
I'm one up in calm though. I have the smallest budget. So,
Tom's not here to hear.
I know, it's okay, I'll make sure he sees. So we recently have made. I had one. It's in the administrative, left. And, one to
So, yeah, the commissioners were concerned, and so were I, that we weren't keeping up on all labor laws, because we really didn't have anyone tracking the new laws, and really doing HR duties. So what we did is, Hillary was the finance office manager. We split her time in half. She's now the HR manager and half finance manager. So half of her salary is in the treasurer's budget and half of it's in here, so that we can have someone focused, making sure that we're doing right by the employer employment laws and such. So we put together this budget, the 2,000 in contractual services as consultant, and that's what we took out of the the commissioner's budget. And the medical surgical, that is when we send staff. Pre-employment, yeah. Some of these are the same as they have been. There's just some lines added for trainings. That I think is the same even. And the last line we added was safety expenses. We have a safety committee that has never been funded to be able to do safety trainings, et cetera. So we put that into HR. We thought that's kind of where it should be, so that she could manage that budget. So that's the our HR department. Scratch.
Do you have any training scheduled further for this year? The training part.
yes, I've been to some since this has been printed.
Okay.
And I do have some other ones.
Yes, I do have a quick question. Was any of this moved from another source in the budget, or was this all new monies going in for this department? And I'm not saying I don't agree that this is an important department to have. I'm just curious if any was allocated from another line item that went for this.
Only the professional fees.
That was it? Okay.
And some, like I said, some of it was, we did have a very, very small HR budget that had the pre-employment, the exams and stuff.
And that was the 4,100? Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you. Larry?
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
If I may, before we adjourn.
Yes.
A couple of things I'd like to say. So I think it's unfortunate that we didn't have the commissioners come in this evening. I do have some questions. I would also ask if we could have a little bit more clarification for our next meeting on the ARPA funds and how the decisions were made as to what was funded and what wasn't funded. Specifically in respect to the other projects page, the last page, when we're looking at the Trinity Jubilee Center, which got 0 funding. There were a few different things, but specifically my concern is around Trinity Jubilee Center and the works that they do with our homeless population that is significantly growing in Androscoggin County, whether you're in Auburn or Lewiston, and the extensive amount of work that they do. I would just like to hear from the commissioners what the understanding on that was and the decisions that they made in respect to these things. Now, I see on the page that there is something that says final rules summary page with references to numbers, and I'm wondering if that is a description or what that might be.
So that's where each of those would fall in the final rule. And can I just say that the Trinity was not rejected. They just haven't voted on it yet. They're waiting for more information from.
Okay, so I just went from what it says here, highlighted items are not approved.
They haven't approved them yet. If it was rejected.
Probably should say haven't been approved.
Haven't been approved, right.
Okay.
Sorry. It's still going to be up for vote. Haven't rejected.
So do they do that vote before they finish their final budget? Because wouldn't this be part of the final budget?
That's special revenues, that's not general funds, it's not.
I don't know.
I'm, to understand this, Rick, the final rule summary page, we don't get to see that. Where's that
I
located?
can bring you the final rule. It's I don't know if anybody of you have seen it, but the final rule is quite large. There is a summary that the Treasury has given out, and that's. I can send that all to you if you'd like a copy of it. It tells where we can spend money.
I would like to see that. Can you email that to us? That would be perfect.
If I could just add to Councilor Scott, the Trinity Jubilee thing, I realize it hasn't been approved yet, but homelessness, nobody in this county knows any more about that than the council in Lewiston. It's gone through for the last 6 months. It is not just a Lewiston problem. It's an Androscoggin County problem. It's a state of Maine problem. And people need to be prepared to kick in something towards this. We're the service center. We get the masses. Okay? And it's just not fair to the taxpayers of the city of Lewiston to expect that they're going to foot the bill for everything. So Trinity Jubilee does a tremendous service in that regard.
Yeah.
And I hope the commissioners recognize that when they finally.
So I'd like to research that and get back to you. One of my conversations, last conversations with one of my commissioners, is that Trinity reached out to them and they were thinking of moving.
Trinity's not moving.
But I'll find out for sure.
Please, just see if you can get some information.
Yeah.
I think we'd appreciate
We can't
that.
discuss anything that's confidential at the moment, but it's not going to impact anything as you would perceive it now from what I understand.
Okay.
Okay, it's
I
not
hadn't
going to
heard
change the
anything
needs or anything like that. It may be just something to increase their efficiency. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't realize that was given week next week. Or
Columbus, Indigenous.
That's Monday.
So I'm going to be honest, and when Larry did the schedule for the budget committee, he knew that long ago I scheduled next week for vacation.
Okay, that's.
Oh, so we all get vacation.
Pretty much it, so.
Well, enjoy your vacation.
I make a motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Sorry.
You gotta pan that faster.